All right, all right.
How's everybody doing? Praise God. I'm so happy to be here again from California. Coming back home is always a joy. How many of you know that it is such a privilege? It is always a privilege to be used by God. That's a privilege, right? We're always happy about that. That's what we're talking about when we talk about purpose, okay? The things I'm going to talk to you about today might be a little in depth. I'm going to try to, make it plain, but we'll see what happens, okay? So when we talk about purpose, we got to think about why God even created that. God made purpose for us for two reasons. And the first reason, ladies, I'm just going to get right into it. The first reason is because even though he knows that we love him and that he's an ever-present help in the time of trouble and that he'll never leave us or forsake us, he also knew that as humans, we needed human hands to hold. And we needed human hands to be wrapped around us in our time of need. And we needed a human ear to listen when we were having pain. And so for each and every one of us, he has implanted a purpose. You guys ever been through something so painful that you say, why me? Sometimes it's something major, a loss, a death. Sometimes it's a flat tire and we're still like, why me? So spoiled. It's a hopeless question because it's not about us. Nick said it. It's not about us. It never has been. When God gave purpose, he gave it so that he could be used, so he could use people. He could come through people and comfort man in all kinds of dynamic ways. And so each and every one of us has a purpose. The second reason he created purpose was for us to be in relationship. That has always been important to God. We were always called to be a part of something, a part of each other. We were never called to be a part. Okay? Now this is the part where the pain comes in. I'm going to share this verse with you. It's Romans 8:28. It says that all things work together for the good of those who love God, number one, and who are the called according to his purposes. Now we have to think of, what are all of these things? What are all of these things? Is he just talking about the good stuff? I don't think that would make any sense. All good things work together for the good. No, he's talking about the pain. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The pain serves your purpose in a way that it brings depth and layers. We're going to talk about layers. Somebody say, I'm not basic. I got layers, boo. Oh, I got layers, boo. All right? The pain adds the layers. It allows you to have relationship with other people. Those of you who don't know, by training I'm a speech language pathologist. That means that I'm crazy about language and all things human connectivity, all things communication. I love to see how in different languages you can say the same thing and it can become so deep and so powerful in another language. And I just want you to know that when you have a pain, if you had a divorce, if you've been abused, if you've been mistreated, if you've been wrongfully terminated, if you've been incarcerated, if you've had an addiction, if you've had cancer, they're layers. Well, I consider the called a person who knows that they have a purpose, even if they don't know what it is, they know they have a purpose and they believe that. We are the called, and the called person's life is going to look like this. All of these little different layers, and God uses those. You ever had somebody try to talk to you about something that they've never been through? Somebody try to tell you how to treat your husband they never had a husband. Right? It just doesn't work. There is nobody who can meet the need of somebody who's had an addiction like someone who has had an addiction. Because they speak that language. There's nobody who has been through a divorce that can help someone else through that journey. like someone who's been through a divorce. They speak that language. We become fluent in many languages of the human dialect. Somebody say, I'm not basic.
I'm not basic.
I got layers, boo. When we talk about God wanting us to be in relationship through our purpose so that we can feel his presence in his hand through other people's experience, we have to think about what does it mean to be related to someone. How do you guys know someone's related? Like my family, we all kind of have a certain look, right? You resemble the person. People always say to my dad, ooh, Dennis can't lie and say that child's not his. She looks just like her daddy, right? And people who don't know that Jennifer's not my blood mother, they even say, ooh, that girl looks just like you. But I think they may be talking about the style of the flair, or something spiritual, I'm sure. Pain in different layers gives us that resemblance to each other. And so, why are we mad about the pain? How do we get stuck there? God is just trying to use you. God is just trying to use you. I'm going to give you some illustrations to bring it home a little bit more. When I have a really good friend. She's actually my assistant. She's a therapist. I've known her for like 8 years. And when she first started working for my company, she didn't have any kids. She was like 26. She was childless, And it was interesting to watch how she interacted with little kids in therapy. She just had no patience. It was interacting to look at how she judged the parents. Oh my gosh, that child needs some discipline. And I would always say to her, you're gonna be different once you have children. She has 2 kids now. And her name is Monica. Monica is so gifted at connecting with parents, right? That is her purpose, connecting with people. She can feel someone's pain before they even utter a word. Parents love her. Her having those children changed her. It allowed her purpose to become even greater. When God brings pain into your life, when he brings trial, when he brings a test, he is really just expanding your relational reach. There is nobody who can make a parent fall in love or feel comfortable better than Monica can in the whole place. And it's amazing to see how she had fertility issues. So she had to really see the value of children. It changed her intensity of her purpose. And that's what God does. God is like a master top chef. He will take your purpose and he'll fold in your talents, and then he'll sprinkle in your pain. He'll put that thing in the oven for 777 degrees, and it'll come out a multi-layered dish that is delightfully delicious and can feed hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of people if you let it. This should change how we think about the pain that we're going through, because it's going to be there to serve somebody else. Another example that I'm going to give you is, because I want you to know that whenever you're faced with something horrible, like Jasmine said, it's not for you. It's not for you. It's to make your purpose greater. You guys know that my mother, her purpose clearly is to serve women and children. That has been the way she's been since she came into my life. She's gifted in singing. You guys know that too. I had an incident in my life one time. I like to call it the first great tragedy. I lost my first child. I was 24 and I was 9 months pregnant, 1 week away from having my first child. And on Easter Sunday, her heart just stopped beating in my body. And I called Mama Sis and I told her, you had the baby? You know, that's what you're thinking is gonna happen. I said, no. I told her something happened, like her heart stopped beating, and she said, I'm on my way from Milwaukee. She said, I'm on my way. And I'm a really self-sufficient type of woman. So I was like, oh my God, like that's not necessary, it's gonna be fine. And she said, no, you don't understand, I'm on my way. I labored for 12 hours to deliver my daughter. And when she was born, she was perfect. I couldn't understand what happened. I loved God, I served God. I was a woman of faith and I was like, why? Why me? Why me? She came. I'll never forget this. Every time I hear this song, I think about her. She came to my hospital bed, and well, before she got there, she was telling me what to do. She was giving me all these instructions. She said, you need to name this child. You remember that? She said, you need to take pictures. She said, you need to have a service. She could tell me that because she had lost 2 children of her own. She could tell me what to do. Then she came to my bedside and she started singing a song to my soul and spirit. And she healed my heart because she spoke the language of losing a child that you had hoped for. And because of that experience, her purpose, which is to uplift women and children, came mixed in with her gift of singing, and it healed me. It healed me. And I've been able to do the same thing for many women who've gone through that. Anybody in here speak the language of poverty? Anybody in here speak the language of abandonment, rejection? Say, I'm not basic. I got layers, boo. We're putting them to work. They have to go to work because that is what God intended. God reached down through Monica to a parent who has a child with autism, my assistant. Monica wound up having 2 kids after many fertility treatments, and one of her kids has autism. That's amazing. We work with 90% of our kids have autism. And she did not blink an eye because she said, I know that this happened. It couldn't happen to anybody else. It couldn't happen to anybody better. I'm the best person for it to happen to. Because when she sits in the face of a parent who is just getting that news, oh, there's nobody. I just go, Monica. There's nobody who can do that like her. And she's fluent in that. We call it being a polyglot when you can speak more than 3 languages. And we are all polyglots of pain. But what we have to remember is that there's always a purpose and that God is just trying to use us. And he does all things so beautifully. Doesn't he do all things so beautifully? We were never meant to be alone. I just want you guys to remember that. That if you don't remember anything else, remember that when you're in pain, when you're struggling, when you're trying not to go under and you're wondering why, remember it's not about you. And remember, you're just becoming dynamic and that you got layers. You got layers, boo. Thank you guys.